Your threshold where you should stop should be the first repetition, the first step that you take, and your knee goes like this, or you lose your balance a little bit. The farmer's carry is a great way to rehab a sprained ankle or a knee misalignment or knee sprain. And I want to share this with you because it's been so effective for many of my clients as well as for myself. I, like many people, have a side that tends to go to sleep through the lateral rotators. My knee starts to invert a little bit, and then when I do something like squatting or deadlifting, it can start to become painful. So I have to be really conscientious of that, and I found that farmer's walk gives me immediate feedback the moment my foot hits the floor. It's really, really hard to get away with knee inversion and sleepy lateral rotators in the farmer's carry. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the farmer's carry to line up your knee with your hip and your ankle, and that is what most hips, knees, and ankles need, and what makes this exercise good for lower body alignment in general. And then after that, I'm going to break it down and show you some preparatory exercises, how to get your body ready, and how to do a little bit deeper work to prepare your foot. Before you pick up the bags, before you start moving, I want you to feel where your knees and your feet are in space. Whenever we walk, whenever we stand, we tend to favor one side. I want you to get your weight 50-50. And oftentimes there's one lateral rotator. Those are the muscles in your butt that turn your knee out. There's one lateral rotator which is a little bit sleepy and allows your knee to cave in like this. So for some people, it could even be both sides. We want our knees to be in a straight line, moving straight forward as we step. The last thing that you want is for your weight to be going through a knee which is inverting, putting pressure on the inside and tweaking out the muscles and the tendons and the meniscuses and everything else like that. You want your knee moving straight. A lot of us have to concentrate on turning the leg out. So what you can do is you can put your foot down, pause, and check to turn your knee out. Make sure your lateral rotators are on. So I'm going to make contact with the floor and stop. Most of my weight's in my back leg. Making contact with the floor, and then I'm turning my knee out just a little bit to make sure it's aligned. If I don't concentrate, this happens. Okay? Make contact with the floor. Whoop, did you see that on the standing leg? Got to turn that one on too. Make contact with the floor, stop, turn the knee out, right? And you do your walk just like this. So I'm going to bring the camera or phone down to the floor so you can see. If you watch from the back, watch my knees from the back, you'll also see the same mechanism. There is an inversion that can happen, but what we want is we want the knee right over the foot. So I'm going to make contact with the floor and stop. Turn my knee out a little bit so that it's lined up. Contact with the floor, stop. Activate my turnout muscles. Get the knee right over the foot. Contact with the floor, turn out, knee right over the foot. Just going to stand up and simply turn. No fancy farmer's carry style turns for this video. We can get into that another time. Right? Contact with the floor. Make sure your knee is traveling straight. Feel your lateral rotators on. Contact with the floor. Right? Get your knee going straight. You can even conceptually move the knee kind of like an arrow, or let the knee lead. Let that be the leading part of your body. Whenever you put your foot down and step through, it's always your knee that's moving first. So after that, you're ready to pick up weight. I have 20 pounds here, but obviously I'm capable of doing more, and you should feel free to use however much weight you want. Your threshold should not be where you get extremely tired and your grip is failing and your traps are screaming and you're sweating like crazy and all that. Your threshold where you should stop should be the first repetition, the first step that you take, and your knee goes like this, or you lose your balance a little bit. Let that be your maximum for that day. And that may be like, way, way below what you think you're capable of carrying. But what we're talking about is not, strictly speaking, strength training. It's certainly not hypertrophy. It's really neuromuscular training. And that can be, that requires, in general, higher repetitions, so more practice with less weight. And the more practice, the more weight that you do beyond the range where you can keep your balance and your coordination, the higher the risk that you're going to injure yourself. So I'm going to deadlift these up more or less. And I'm gonna start, same process, making contact with the ground, making sure my knee is in line with my foot, turning out a little bit, right? Contact, turn out and set the knee, step through. Contact, turn out and set the knee, step through. That knee should be in correct alignment. Stand up straight, turn around, just a nice simple turn. Same thing. And what's gonna happen over time is you'll naturally start to ask yourself, or naturally want to move in a way that's a little bit more smooth, a little bit more natural. And that's where it becomes really challenging, because the more we default to our natural patterns, the more our dysfunctional patterns start to come out, the more we're going to invert our knee. But this is going to make your foot and your ankle crazy strong, just doing this over and over again. You could do high numbers of reps with very, very low weight. Training yourself, retraining yourself to walk with correct alignment is going to require a lot of practice. That means a lot of volume and less weight. Okay, so now you're to the point where, or I am, hopefully you are too, now you're to the point where you can easily take a step, contact with the floor, rotate your knee out slightly, feel your lateral rotators on, right? Now you need to pick up the pace a little bit. And remember, you've reached the maximum amount for that set, or the maximum speed, or the maximum weight when you put your foot down and you feel your knee coming in, or you're losing contact with the floor, with the outer, between the floor and the outer edge of the foot, or when you feel you cannot turn your lateral rotators on. When you feel your alignment, balance, and your coordination are starting to go, that means you're done. Actually, my neck looks a little bit off. That's kind of fucked up. I'll work on that later. So, bend your knees. Lead with the knee, lateral rotators on. Knees, lead with the knees, lateral rotators on. Try to turn with good neutral alignment, don't twist through your legs. Now move a little bit faster. This is okay, this is 5 steps I can take. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's pretty good. So over time, knowing that on average I do a farmer's carry that's about 50 to 60 steps, I'm going to do 5 laps, and that would be equivalent to 1 farmer's carry in the gym, right? Yeah, so on that last one, on the right side, I started to feel like, actually when I brought my weight out of my knee, I felt like it was inverting a little bit, and I felt it twice. So even though that was 20 pounds, and about 50 or 60 feet total, that's not a whole lot. Even though it was very short distance and lightweight, still the amount of steps, the volume was enough to start to fatigue my control, fatigue my nervous system. So I'm going to stop there and call that my threshold. Then I'd rest for about 2 minutes, and then I would come back and do another set. And instead of doing 5 laps, I probably would do 4 and make sure that I had that 4 really solid. And if the 4 are solid, maybe I could do another 5 laps, and I'd probably be done for the day. And then wait, do the same thing the next day, given that I'm working with light weights, up to maybe 3 days in a row, or do it every other day for like a week, 2 weeks. And you can start increasing the weight, but again, you have to be mindful of your control. Your knee has to be in the right, your knee has to be aligned correctly, and you'll know that it's, you'll feel that part of that process is activating the lateral rotators in the butt. And if you can't feel those and your knee is off, then obviously you've reached your max. All right, now here's how you can prepare your body a little bit more deeply for this work. So it's always good whenever you work with the lower body or the back, it's always good to warm up the front core and the back core. And since we're working with the lateral rotators, the piriformis muscle, the glute med, muscles like that, it's good to add those too. So that's 3 warm-up exercises. And in addition to that, we're going to do some lunging, which is going to be a preparatory exercises. So 4 exercises, followed by a little bit of deadlifting to make sure that we're using our body correctly, followed by the farmer's walk. That's 6 exercises. So if you have time for that, it'll be really, really good for you to go through all this stuff, but not everybody has the time or the patients to do it. So here we go. We're gonna warm the front core up using the glute bridge. I got my phone in the wrong orientation, so I'm just gonna move the phone down like this. All right, so now that I've got the right orientation, basic glute bridge without all the like fancy stuff. Just put your feet where they intuitively feel comfortable. Lightly push your feet away, right? That already starts to activate the glutes a little bit, but it also helps to deactivate the hamstrings. A lot of us have overactive hamstrings and they start to spasm in glute bridge. So push your feet away a little bit. Tuck your pelvis. That means push your low back into the ground. Keep tucking, and what's going to happen is you'll feel your glutes turn on and you'll feel your abdominal muscles turning on. And raise your waist or your hips all the way up. And once you're up there, try to keep your hips as high as you can while putting one vertebrae at a time on the ground. And that will challenge you to maintain that pelvis tuck. A lot of us, when we get up there, we tend to just arch our back a little bit and we let go of that pelvis tuck. We want to keep the front core on. Remember, the purpose of this is to warm up the front core, right? Tuck the pelvis. Feel the glutes and the abs starting to turn on. Once I'm up high, return one vertebrae at a time to the floor. Really squeezing the glutes, really tucking the pelvis, really contracting the abs. Coming down slowly. And I can also feel my thighs starting to warm up. Don't forget that the muscles of the upper leg, all these big muscles, they all connect to the pelvis. That makes them postural muscles. And we're definitely going to be using those during the farmer's carry. Okay, so that's 3. In practice, I probably would do closer to 5, maybe even 10 if I felt like it, if I had the time. But now I feel like my core is warmer than before when I just went right into the carry. So now we're going to warm up the back core. Okay, and for the back core, I'm just going to lift the legs off the floor. Let me get this. Let me change it so you can actually see my legs. Yeah, so to warm up the back core, you can have your hands wherever you want them. I just happen to have them here. Okay. First, I'm going to tuck my pelvis, right, to activate the front core, which I just got nice and warm. My back core is going to start to turn on by default. Once I start to lift up my legs, I'm going to lift one leg up off the floor, making sure the knee and the thigh are up off the floor. I have to really concentrate through this. This is really challenging. My front core wants to turn off, so I have to turn it on between sets. Now I can really feel my low back and my glutes turning on. So now I'm going to do both at the same time. Front core on, inhale, exhale and lift. And my abs, my front core is working like crazy. I feel it all the way up into my rib cage. But my back is nice and contracted. My glutes are fully on. I'll do one more. And call that good. So now, the back core, back surface of the body is activated. Now I'm going to activate the lateral rotators. And to do that, I'm going to stand up. And here we are again in portrait mode. Guys, if you're not using portrait and landscape, you're killing your gains. All right, so to warm up the lateral rotators, I'm going to concentrate on keeping my knee right over my foot and my knees. And this right here is enough, just to stand with the weight on one leg without allowing the knee. A lot of you are going to do this. Turn the leg out, feel the activation coming from the lateral rotators back here. Thinking about that leg going toward the camera, right? Feel everything that's happening. Feel the lateral edge of the foot returning to the floor. Feel the vastus lateralis starting to turn on. Feel the weight in the center of the floor. Feel free to grip the floor slightly with the toes. Okay, if you can do this on both sides, your lateral rotators are pretty much on. But then you can do a few reps, single leg turning, only to the extent that you can keep the knee really, 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 really stable. If I turn and I start to turn my knee with it, that's no good. You're just gonna shred your knee that way. And you'll notice, I'm noticing, and you probably will too, that at least you see that? So I gotta fix that before I can move. Getting my weight in the center of the feet, turning on the lateral rotators, going a little bit deeper helps that. You're gonna feel when you get to the end of your range of motion that you're gonna wanna twist through that ankle, twist through that knee. So when you get to the end of your range, push the knee out a little bit more strongly. Activate your lateral rotators a little more strongly. In fact, you can get to the end and you can do a few pumps of that repetition. I'll turn 45 so you can see what the range looks like. So I'm getting to the end of the range and then I'm doing a little bit more activation through that end, hoping that it'll make for better control once I get to the end and come back. See, I'm losing my balance. That means that I'm too tired on that side. I'm gonna switch to the other one. Concentrating just on moving my center, and at no time moving this leg independently. Right? I'm concentrating on the lateral rotation of this leg through the butt, the alignment of the knee, trying to feel if I'm inverting, and then giving it a little extra lateral rotation at the end if needed. Ooh, you see that? That means I'm done on that side. So if I weren't demonstrating, if this were like a real practice session for me, if I were really training, I would probably do 2 more sets since I had a little unpredictable loss of balance, loss of coordination there. I probably would practice that. I think I did 4 reps. I probably would do 3 reps over another set, and if that went well, I would do 4 more over a third set. If that went well, I would do 5 or 6 more over the next set, and just see how it goes, and then be more consistent with that single leg turning or whatever lateral rotator activation I wanted to do for that week or for the next couple weeks. Okay, then we're almost to the farmer's walk. In order to farmer's walk, you have to pick the stuff up, you have to pick the weight up from the floor. And in order to pick stuff up off the floor, you gotta either get down there and come up out of a squat or come up out of a deadlift. I'm just gonna use the deadlift for today. So if you have 2 weights, you're gonna pick them up in a suitcase carry at the side of your body. When you think about deadlifting, I want you to think about getting this video is not for people who are like competitive strongmen or competitive Olympic lifters or anything like that, right? This video is for people who have injuries and who want to get back to training or want to get back to being active. And hopefully this helps some people who've hit a wall that way. So when you pick something up from the floor and you want to deadlift it up, concentrate on bringing your hips back in space rather than bringing your body down. I'll show you from the side too. Basically, I'm bringing my hips down. I'm basically bringing my hips back, and I'm keeping my legs relaxed. I'm not allowing them to bend deeply, but I'm also not being stickler about keeping them straight. Once I'm there, turn my back core on. Remember the back core exercise? And then stand up straight and bring the pelvis forward. From the side, it looks like this. Just like that motion. My hips are bringing my hips back in space. I can almost feel my weight shifting into my heels just a little bit. I don't really want to do that, right? I'm not going to bend my knees. I'm going to allow my legs to be relaxed. Once I get far enough that I can actually grab the handles and grab them, I'm going to turn my back core on, stand up, and thrust the hips forward a little bit, right? So you could do 3 or 4 of these just to get yourself nice and awake in the patterned sense. You could do 2 sets, 3 sets, and then after that you're ready to do your farmer's walk. Then you can pick them up without worrying about hurting your back or your knee caving in or twisting your knee or anything like that. Then you're ready to do farmer's walks. Farmer's walks are so effective, and we walk all the time, that doing those alone really is enough of a warm-up on the average day. But if you're having pain in your knee, if you sprained your ankle, if your knee alignment is off, if it feels like your knee's buckling all the time, or your balance is really unpredictable when you're standing in the grocery store, walking down the street, you know, going to the bathroom in the middle of the night, whatever. It's not like an average, you're not in an average situation, you're in an exceptional situation where your nervous system doesn't have the control that it needs to put all the bones of your limb in alignment to keep you from injuring yourself when you get out of bed or take the groceries from the store into the car, right? So you have to be a little bit more conscientious, a little bit more precise. It just takes a little bit more preparation of your body. And then you can start retraining yourself how to walk, how to deadlift, how to squat, and those things will start to become second nature gradually over time. Slow and steady at first, really methodical, being very conscientious about all the alignment, and then allowing the movements to become a little bit more natural, more relaxed, more free-flowing. And then when you hit that wall where your knee alignment is starting to buckle in, or you're losing your balance, or your coordination starts to fail, at that point you know that you're done for that set, maybe done for that day, depending. You have to be the judge. So thanks for listening. I hope that this helps some of you. It helps my clients, it helps me. I use these concepts all the time, much to my chagrin, because my lateral rotators, my knee alignment doesn't stay just automatic the way that I would like to. I'd love to take it for granted and never have to work on it, but it turns out that that's the kind of thing that we have to tend to on a regular basis. All right, be well. I hope you're all safe and happy.